Hi there, I'm Martha Van Dam and this is Living Beyond. And I've got an idea for you to start today that is something that I did a number of years ago and was so meaningful to me during the season and for the year to come that I want to share with you. And this is what it is. It boils down to a gratitude jar. But here's how it works. I would love very much if you would get a jar, some sort of see-through jar, and stick out next to it, put next to it, a stack of some kinds of papers, whether it's the little sticky note kind or even just the kind that don't have the sticky attached. It doesn't matter, and leave a pen close by. And then every time, get it on the lookout. Every time that something happens that's especially nice, that is sweet, that touches your heart, something that feeds your soul a little bit, you run to that paper, jot it down. It doesn't have to be much, and certainly not the whole story. Just my son called to wish me happy birthday, or grandson, when I saw him, he grabbed hold of my knees and said, "I love you, Mimi." Just jot that down and put the date on it, just a little date in the corner, and throw it in the jar. You're going to watch over the year, you're going to watch that jar get more and more and more full. And as you see it get more full, first of all, that kind of warms your heart, just seeing it get more full. And then around about next November, sometime before Thanksgiving, I would like you to open that jar. Not before then, but open that jar and start reading all of the things that you had appreciated and had valued during the year. I promise you, an awful lot, if not the majority of those things, you will have forgotten. And if it just so happens that you have difficult things that come up in your year this year, because it can happen for all of us, if it happens that there are some difficult times, you may end the year and your mind may want to go back to, what was the year like? Oh, we had this and this and this that was difficult. Your mind is actually more inclined to notice and latch onto and remember the hard things than the wonderful and beautiful things. So if you've had difficult things going on in your year, you may be surprised to open this jar and see that there were so many wonderful things that happened during the year. So I would love you to have that experience. And then let's take it one step further. A thing that I discovered when I did this a number of years ago, when I pulled them all out and I laid them all out, is I realized that 98% of the little scraps of paper all involved something or someone that I cared for. Almost all, with the exception literally of a few, almost all of those pieces of paper involved something that my kids or my grandkids or my daughters-in-law or my husband, my sister, my parents, someone had said or done something that was meaningful to me. There were a few other things that involved something I'd finished or accomplished that felt good, but the majority involved people. So at the end of this year, I'm looking and I'm realizing that all of these wonderful things that I had forgotten, but as soon as I looked, my mind went straight back there and I remembered all over again. And so it was like enjoying those moments all over again. So that in itself was beautiful. But then the tail end of it was even more special, yes, even more special. And that was, I took those little pieces of paper, and there were a bunch of them. The whole jar completely filled up. I was folding them in quarters and cramming them in. And I took them and I divided them into piles according to the person. So if my youngest son had called me and wished me happy birthday, and that would go on to his stack. Well, and occasionally there were some pieces of paper that actually involved more than one person. So maybe one of my sons and his wife, or one son and another son, they both had contacted me or had come to see me or something, and so I had written that down. So if there was one piece of paper that involved two people, I took another piece of paper, made a copy, wrote exactly the same thing with the date on it. So I was able to give each person that particular little note. So each person had a stack. And for Christmas, one of the things I got for them was I got a pretty little tin at the store, a decorated tin. and put the papers of the things, of the reminders of things that they had said, put each one in their particular tin, and then gave it to them at Christmas. And it was such a surprise. It was not something I could have planned for, because I didn't even realize that all of these things were going to be about the people until sometime in November, when I actually was going through them again. So they didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. It was so meaningful to me to go back through them and to acknowledge and recognize how much the people I love had meant to me through the year. But it was so meaningful to them to then get that list and see how their own actions and words and thoughts, how much they'd meant to me. They'd meant enough for me to take a second and write it down on a piece of paper, save it, and give it to them. And there were tears all around. And one of my daughters-in-law has told me that my son kept his box and from time to time takes them out and reads them again. We don't know how our actions, how much they're going to mean to somebody else. But this is one. Every now and again you land on something and you think, that was good. I'm really glad I did that. Well, you know what? That was good. And I'm really glad I did it. And it was so meaningful to me. I know it was meaningful to members of my family. And with everything in me, I believe it will be meaningful to you if you try it out. This is the perfect time to start. We're right after Thanksgiving. If you start your jar now, then next November, mid-November, you will have had nearly a whole year to add to this jar. Leave it out someplace where you'll see it. If you don't, again, surely you'll forget it. But if it's sitting out on the kitchen table or out on the dining room table with its little pad and a pen, it'll be so much easier to remember. And I would love to hear some stories about how meaningful this is to you. It certainly meant the world to me. All right, on we go. December is upon us, and I can't wait to keep talking to you. Bye-bye.